हेलो स्टूडेंट्स। लास्ट लेक्चर में हमने पढ़ा था एवरेज एंगुलर डिस्प्लेसमेंट एंड एंगुलर एवरेज एंगुलर वेलोसिटी, दैट इज डेल्टा ओमेगा इक्वल टू डेल्टा थीटा बाय डेल्टा टी. नाउ our next topic is instantaneous angular velocity. Instantaneous angular velocity means angular velocity at any instant. यदि हमको निकालना है कि टाइम पीरियड इज वेरी शॉर्ट इन एट एनी फ्रैक्शन ऑफ सेकंड, we want to find the angular velocity. That velocity is called instantaneous angular velocity. Angular velocity at any instant, that is omega is equal to limit delta t tends to 0. It means time interval is very small, approximately equal to 0. Then delta theta by delta t is called d theta by dt. It shows that the change in angular velocity in very small fraction of time dt. इसको डिफरेंशिएशन भी शो करते हैं, अपन डिफरेंशिएशन भी बोलते हैं. तो हम ऐसा निकाल सकते हैं कि बहुत ही स्मॉल टाइम इंटरवल में dt इज वेरी स्मॉल टाइम इंटरवल, इट इज फ्रैक्शन ऑफ सेकंड, कितना एंगुलर डिस्प्लेसमेंट में चेंज हो रहा है, दैट रेशियो इज कॉल्ड इंस्टेंटेनियस एंगुलर वेलोसिटी. फॉर वन कंप्लीट रिवॉल्यूशन, angular displacement theta is equal to 2 pi and time t is equal to capital T, that is time period. So that angular velocity will be equal to delta theta by delta t. It is equal to 2 pi by t and omega is equal to, we know that 1 by t is n, so 2 pi n, because 1 by t is equal to n, frequency. Unit of angular velocity, radian per second. The relation between angular velocity and angular acceleration. We know that delta theta is equal to delta x by r and delta x is equal to r delta theta. Now delta x by delta t will be equal to r delta theta by delta t. दोनों तरफ हम डेल्टा t से डिवाइड कर दें and delta x by delta t will be equal to delta omega, delta v, displacement upon time is delta v equal to r delta omega. Yeah, simply we can write v is equal to r omega. It means angular velocity will be equal to, sorry, linear velocity will be equal to radius into angular velocity. Now come to the angular acceleration. The rate of change of angular velocity is called angular acceleration. It means angular acceleration, average angulation, average angular acceleration equal to delta alpha is equal to delta omega by delta, or instantaneous angular acceleration alpha will be equal to, again, limit delta t tend to 0. It is very small time, it is very fraction of time, delta omega by delta t, and alpha will be equal to d omega by dt. The relation between angular acceleration and linear acceleration. We know that v is equal to omega r, या हम एवरेज की फॉर्म में भी ले सकते हैं, डेल्टा वी इज इक्वल टू आर डेल्टा ओमेगा, and delta v upon delta t will be equal to r delta omega by delta t, that is linear acceleration delta a r delta alpha, and simply we can write a is equal to r alpha. It means linear acceleration will be equal to radius into angular acceleration. यहाँ भी हम उसी तरीके से मेंटेन कर सकते हैं, अपने आप को रिमेमोराइज कर सकते हैं कि जैसे हम बोलते हैं कि एक्सटर्नल फोर्स इज जीरो ऑन द बॉडी, then linear acceleration always remains zero, and when linear acceleration is zero, it means velocity remains the same, velocity will be constant, and distance covered by the body will be equal to velocity into time. If a is equal to 0 and v is constant, then displacement s will be equal to v into t. In the time interval, displacement in the time interval t is x is equal to v into t. Similarly, if alpha is equal to 0 means angular velocity is constant. Then angular displacement in the time interval t is theta is equal to omega t. हम दोनों को एक ही तरीके से समझ सकते हैं. Here, linear displacement x is equal to vt when the acceleration is 0, and similarly, the angular displacement theta is equal to omega t when the angular acceleration is 0. Equation of motion. Linear equation of motion. Angular equation of motion. First equation is v is equal to u plus at, and here first equation will be omega is equal to omega 0 plus alpha t. Here omega is final velocity and omega 0 is initial velocity. Here u initial velocity and v final velocity, same as omega 0 initial angular velocity and omega final angular velocity. A is acceleration, here alpha is acceleration. And second equation will be S is equal to ut plus half at square. Same as here. S means displacement, linear displacement, here angular displacement. Theta will be u. U is here initial angular velocity is 0, omega 0 t plus half alpha t square. Third equation will be v square is equal to u square plus 2as, and here third equation is omega square equal to omega 0 square plus 2 alpha theta. Distance covered in nth second. As nth will be u plus a by 2 to n minus 1. Here angular distance covered in nth second. Theta nth will be omega 0 plus alpha by 2 to n minus 1.